Hello you lovely people, and welcome to a brand new video. After receiving some really helpful comments on my first Arma Reforger video and consulting with the developers from Bohemia Interactive, it was clear that there were even more Arma Reforger upgrades I could have mentioned in that video. So in this one I'll be presenting you with a further 20 upgrades in Arma Reforger over Arma 3, and hopefully you'll learn something about the game that you weren't aware of. 1. Tactical infiltration. So this one's a really niche mechanic that you often don't see, and what it is that you can currently steal enemy radios during multiplayer sessions, listen in on their conversations, spy on them and use that intel to get the jump on the enemy. You can also steal enemy uniforms. I've seen Drewski and Devil Dog Gamer get in on this, really sowing confusion in multiplayer and infiltrating enemy lines. It opens up a whole new section of combat, but it is very likely to be removed because, well, it is technically a war crime. You could pick up enemy uniforms in Arma 3's earliest alpha demos, but it was removed. We'll have to see if it remains in Arma Reforger. 2. Gunner animations. There are dynamic animations for players using certain vehicle positions. For example, a gunner on the US military jeep will actually scoot around to aim at targets. In Arma 3 on the other hand, soldiers' feet were glued to, well, an invisible rotating platform, which just doesn't look anywhere near as good as Reforger. 3. Interior building destruction. This one has been disabled currently due to issues with game performance on lower end systems, but you can enable it again using a simple add-on. In Arma 3, even if you place down objects and such inside a building interior, there were no real destruction states for said objects, but now we can blow apart sections of bookcases and wardrobes with explosives, adding a new layer of visual fidelity to battles. 4. World's destruction. Granted, Arma 3 did have a level of environmental destruction, but it was, and I think you'll agree with me, very simple, and it also wasn't enabled for all structures due to performance reasons. Enfusion should be able to handle a more sophisticated level of destruction, but of course it's not fully realised yet. So far we can blow apart sections of walls, fences and other hard cover, which is just awesome when you think about what we've come from with Arma 3. In Arma 3, there was either a wall or there wasn't a wall. It would kind of just flop over like this. Parts of it wouldn't break off dynamically. 5. Darkened windows. Alright, you might laugh at this one and think, Tommy, what on earth do you mean darkened windows? Well, this is another one of those lighting improvements in Arma Reforger, where the brightness of light is varied by how well the sun or another light source can reach it. In Arma 3, the sun illuminates building interiors from the outside exactly the same as if you're in the inside. In real life, we know this isn't how it works. If it's bright outside and dark inside, you won't be able to fully see inside that building if you're standing on the outside. From a gameplay perspective, this is huge. You have to be very careful about clearing urban areas, as it's more than likely that any defender watching you from inside a building will have the upper hand and will be able to see you before you see them. 6. Improved ground clutter. Although Arma 3's terrains are beautifully populated with foliage, especially Tanoa, and correspond well to their real world locations, they can be sparse in some areas. This is really apparent if you revisit the first map to come to Arma 3, Stratus. It just pales in comparison to Arma Reforger's ground clutter. In Reforger's Everon, mossy rocks, fallen logs, a variety of plant life and other natural features can be found by entering any of the many forested areas. There's a great deal of variety to the point where you'll probably not see the same terrain feature twice in one spot, meaning it's easier to navigate and also communicate firing positions to your team. 7. Better AI positioning. If you've played Arma 3, you'll know how cripplingly infuriating the AI can be. Even if you stack them up in a good position, they'll do that weird little dance if they take fire, sort of rotate on the spot, fire a bullet, which may or may not instantly headshot you, and then go prone. And that is the default reaction of AI in Arma 3 coming under fire. In Reforger, don't get me wrong, they're not mini Jason Bournes, but they are better. They'll now swarm around locations they deem enemies to be present. They'll suppress, they'll move around buildings, seal off exits, and push in aggressively. Again, I stress there are very clearly still problems with the AI, but as I said, they are much more proactive when it comes to neutralizing threats. Look at the same scenario for comparison in Arma 3. The AI just don't bother moving into the building to clear the enemy out. They just stand there like lemons, shooting occasionally. The AI improvements in Reforger show really good promise for the future. 8. Dynamic flashlights. Arma 3 had nice lighting options through chem lights, MVGs and whatnot, but flashlights were just basic weapon attachments, and that was that. In Reforger, they are, as I said in my last video about compasses and maps, more tactile and involved. You either pull it out alongside your weapon, or you have it attached to your front like so. As well as this, another really nice detail is the map lights up with a torch effect during night operations, which I love. 9. Rocket Launcher Ricochet. I really like this one. It's something I remember fondly from the days of playing GTA 4, and if you fired an RPG at a certain angle, it would actually bounce off the surface of something and explode somewhere else. In Arma 3, this just doesn't work or isn't simulated. I have to say, I thought this was a bug at first, but you can clearly see in slow motion the rocket getting ricocheted off the side of this wall. 10. Animated weapon zeroing. Another quality of life improvement is that when you change the zeroing of a weapon, you can physically see it on the gun in both first and third person. Also, zeroing changes the position of the actual reticle on some of the longer range weapons with scopes, as you can see here. Arma 3 absolutely didn't have anything like this, and not many people are aware of this one in Reforger, and I definitely wasn't until one of the devs very kindly tipped me off about it. 11. Toggleable weapon sight reticles. God, that's a mouthful. Arma 3 sported a variety of different scopes, varying from faction to faction, weapon to weapon, situation to situation. But you're not able to go any deeper than this, and switch, for example, the scope's reticle light on and off, or even change the reticle's colour depending on the situation. Now, there is a far greater deal of flexibility for different combat scenarios. 12. Interactive grenades. Grenades in Reforger have been massively reworked compared to Arma 3. In Arma 3, you could try and throw a grenade through glass with very poor results. Now it's a possibility. In Reforger, grenades are actual items which you can hold, aim, throw, and get this, repin using the R key. So if you want to cancel the action, you can safely stow the grenade away for explosive keeping. I love this, as I found the grenades in Arma 3 were really hit and miss in urban combat. 13. Weapon obstruction. This is clearly another borrowed feature from DayZ's standalone. It's one of those things which people will undoubtedly get annoyed by every so often, but it's also undeniably more realistic and visually intuitive to what we currently have in Arma 3. 14. Dynamic environmental audio. As one of the Bohemia Interactive developers very kindly told me, and I quote starting now, Reforger and Enfusion Engine's audio capabilities are significantly greater than anything we could have done in Arma 3. The often praised ambient sounds of Reforger, which were done by Reforger's audio project lead, Philip Senzak, consist of many layers that blend into each other depending on the in-game situation, where you are, if it's raining, how strong the wind blows. Additionally, there are lots of sounds that play positionally from the game world or specific objects. Philip took a lot of care in designing birds that squawk and chirp in the trees, insects flying around. These sounds randomly play from in-game objects and creates an ambient soundscape that never repeats. Attention to detail in audio is significantly better than in Arma 3. I also put a lot of care into water interaction. The sound changes the deeper you go, from a splish splash in shallow water to a more steady stream when in deeper water. In Arma 3, well, let's just say it was far from that. 15. Enhanced vehicle sound. Again, I'll quote the developer on the improvements of vehicle sounds in Arma Reforger versus Arma 3, as they articulate it a lot better than I do. Quote, I personally feel that the overall sonic feeling of vehicle driving feels a lot more connected with the game world now compared to Arma 3. Arma 3 played random rattling sounds every once in a while, you might notice that. But in Reforger, you can hear the suspension actually compress and decompress. Engines might rattle when they're damaged or pushed to their max, and there might be backfires from the exhaust. This is really amazing stuff for audio, and it might be overlooked by some people, but it is really important for creating this living and breathing world that we have in Arma Reforger. 16. Character audio. I almost 100% guarantee that no one has picked up on this because it is such a niche audio related aspect. Again, I quote, "On the character side of things, we developed a modular system for Foley. Almost every piece of equipment makes a sound, from the weapon on your back, the one in your hand, your vest, your jacket, your backpack. The goal was to make a sonic difference in gearing up, and I think this worked nicely." So to put this simply in layman's terms, if you take items off of your player, like a vest, backpack and uniform, the sound of you running will be notably different because there isn't anything clunking around on you anymore. In Arma 3 on the other hand, it was all or nothing. Your player sounds did not vary at all depending on how much or how little you were carrying. 17. Quick action slots. I can't remember the exact Arma 3 update where this was added, but you were eventually able to switch to your primary, secondary and launcher using the default 1, 2 and 3 number buttons, but this was as far as it went. In DayZ standalone, the quick bar was a really nifty way of accessing different items without the linearity of the Arma 3 solution. In Reforger, we have that DayZ level of customizability. 18. Blood loss. This is another DayZ similarity, but of course you'll know in vanilla Arma 3, so this is obviously no Ace Medical or any other mods, it was a simple case of getting shot, using a first aid kit to heal to about 75% health, and you'd be on your merry way. Now, players are equipped with bandages, and if you get shot, you'll start losing blood, and fast. If you don't bandage within a certain time, depending on how badly you're hit, your screen will lose saturation, like in DayZ, and you'll bleed to death. In Arma 3 on the other hand, no matter how badly you were hurt, you could just keep trudging on without the possibility of dying if you didn't treat yourself. 19. Wind sway. This is of course most noticeable on foliage, tree branches, bushes and such. On Arma 3 there was a basic level of wind sway, but nowhere near on this level, where even the grass rustles and sways a little. It's one of those small details which, unless you were looking for it, you wouldn't notice. 20. Granular stance adjust. In Reforger, there's a more granular stance adjust system for players, and importantly, the adjusted stance position remains whilst the player is running, which wasn't the case in Arma 3. In Arma 3, if you were in a stance position and you tried to sprint, you'd suddenly bolt upwards and lose that particular stance you were in. And that's it! Those are my top 20 further upgrades in Arma Reforger over Arma 3. Keep your eyes peeled for a new video coming from me about my suggestions for how Arma Reforger can improve in preparation for Arma 4 to make it the best possible game it can be. If you have any suggestions for that video, I'd really appreciate any of your comments down below. Thank you as always for watching, and for my Patron Rue for supporting the channel. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed. Have a great week.